Right, I'm in. Who is here with us early tonight? Tom Price. Tom's first in. Right, I'm in. Just let a few more come in, and then we'll get started. Yes, Chloe. Is my mic too loud? Can you tell me if my mic's too loud? Yes, Tom Price, I'm good. Need a drink though. My throat's dry. Yes, D8. Well, unfortunately, the guest for tonight cancelled. She's not feeling very well, but we wish her the best, and we'll see her very, very soon to come on and tell her story. Yes, Jerry boy. Good to see you back. So it's just got to be a general shoot the shit tonight, like. Yes, Brummie. Nope, coconut, Tom. Coca-Cola tonight. Give me 2 seconds, I need to get my jumper. Pardon me. Yes, it was a good day yesterday. It was indeed. We're in. What's happening, you bunch of spooky bastards? I'm only joking. Thanks for coming back. What have you been up to today, Jerry? Fucking soap on a rope. Ah, yes, Brum, that would be good. Now, let's see if we can sort this out then. Right, Brummie, if you give me 2 minutes, I'll get this sorted while we wait for more people to get on. Look at your WhatsApp, Brum. Man. Right. 2 seconds, Brummie. I'm just about to message you now. Man. Right, that's at. So, if you give me 2 minutes, yes, Barry, I'm good, mate. Yes, hopefully I've emailed 2 people today. So, Sam, hope you're well. Hope you get out soon. Good to see you back. Yes, Wayne McAvoy. Turbo, good to see you back. Aye, whatever. It's up to you, Brummie. What to do is, I'll send you a message just now, just a general. Now, get this link. No, wrong one. That one. Right, if you give me 2 seconds. Right, fuck it. We'll wing it. Let's do it. I've sent you the link, Brummie. Jump on. We'll wing it and see how it goes. I apologise, it is all a bit last minute. But these things happen. Yes, Rascal, good to see you back. 49 in. Yes, Sean H, Clint, Ryan. Right, guys, I'm going to post the link, but I'm not going to let anyone on but Brummie just now. We're going to talk to Brummie for a while. And if we've got time later, we can bring other people in. But it's not going to be a fucking 3 o'clock in the morning job tonight. No way. Oh, Jerry Helmet. Oh, Brummie, right. All right, Jerry.
All right, pal. How you doing?
Not bad.
How'd your team go on today?
Oh, is this all you're coming in for to wind me up? I'm just about to Google it. I've been fucking busy all day.
What did they get beat?
I don't know. I'm just about to find it.
I've not even looked, mate.
Oh, no, the one.
Oh, there
2-1.
you go, man. Ah, there you go.
2-1.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I said, send a wee thing to Hung, and he'll give you my email address, and I'll get you the links for the games and that. You know.
Aye, spawn.
I watched the Celtic game today, man. They were okay.
Aye.
Nothing brilliant, but
When are they ever anything brilliant, though?
I know this season's been absolute murder.
But, anywho, Jerry, I'm just about to have a quick chat with Brummie about his old job and stuff, and I'll get you back on after that. Is that right?
No worries, mate. On you go, batter in.
Oh, buddy. Oh, perfect. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Right, Brummie.
Right, you're right, Chimpy.
How's it going?
Not too bad. How was the Crimbo and everything, mate?
Aye, good. Not too bad.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
if we just start for the start, really, what is it you did in ambulance service?
Okay, so what I did is it's
Well, actually, sorry. First of all, can you tell everybody your name, or do you just want to go by Brummie?
I'll just go by Brummie if that's all right.
Right,
Because
not a problem.
obviously, with some of the things I'll say, ex-colleagues probably will know, and
Right,
we
not a
were
problem.
told that we're not allowed to really talk. It was all behind closed doors. But at the end of the day, the way they've
Spot on.
treated me and all that sort of stuff, I'm happy to share the story.
Spot on, not a problem. So, we'll just start for
Okay.
the start. What was it you did in ambulance service?
So what it was is I worked with the non-emergency patient transport service.
Okay,
So it was we weren't going to 999 calls as such, but we were taking patients in and out of hospital
right.
to hospital appointments. But at the peak of the COVID pandemic, we were taking 90% of COVID patients,
Wow.
and obviously, as people know on the news, I can guarantee you now that at the height of the first pandemic, when the UK first knew about this COVID,
Mm-hmm.
there was no masks, there was no aprons. There was hardly any gloves on our vehicles because we didn't have to deal with them. So, we didn't have to deal with patients as such. There was no gloves, no aprons, no masks.
What about sanitizers and stuff?
There was, you were lucky to have sanitizers on the vehicle.
So it was limited.
Some of them, yeah. Because we had different branches, so we'd have the normal PTS and then we'd have HD,
Yeah,
where high dependency, they would have the sanitizers because we don't need them. We'll have the little clip on that you'd have on your belt, and that's
yeah.
pretty much it.
Did you was that issued to you, or did you have to get that yourself?
Well, again, during the pandemic, it was a case of if you want it, you buy it. We're not, because they wanted to keep it for the hospitals, they wanted to keep it for
Yeah,
the doctors, they wanted to keep it for what we would call frontline crews, so the 999 crews. They
yeah.
would get all the basic equipment. I had a patient one night that I had to go onto a hot COVID ward while the doctors, the nurses, everyone in there was in the space
PPE.
suits, so the
Yeah.
white suits with the mask, with the oxygen tank.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to pick up a patient because we had to transfer him from one hospital to another.
Okay.
And I looked at these people who was in the ward, and I was like, surely I shouldn't be going on that ward.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked our Halo, who's at every hospital, who's like a free pick, he's like a manager.
Mm-hmm.
I said to him, I says, surely I shouldn't be going on this ward without the necessary PPE. So the response I got, you're there to take the patient. You don't need PPE. So I was sitting in the back of an ambulance with a COVID positive patient that was coughing and he was spewing and he
Wow.
was ill, like to the point that I rang our control and says this should be a frontline job. And because frontline were busy in hyphens, that we had to take him. One night I went to A&E and there was 12 ambulances parked outside. They didn't drop one patient off. They were all on standby at the hospital.
Fucking
So
hell.
as the government says, the NHS, and I work for the NHS, I absolutely love the NHS. But when the government turn around and say that the fact that, they're overrun, they wasn't. And I've got colleagues who still work in the ambulance service, and
Uh-huh.
it's pretty much the same. It's still, you'll get your odd one or two, but it's nothing to the extent that they are talking about. It's at the end of the day, as I see it as an ex health professional,
Mm-hmm.
it's a a stronger strain of the common cold. And,
Yeah.
you know, as long as you are healthy as such, you know, there's not much that is going to change. You know, you get the cold, you fight it off. You know, with COVID, yes, it attacks your immune system, it attacks your your respiratory system. But at the end of the day, all these people have underlying medical conditions as well,
Okay.
which the government are not mentioning. You know, the government just say, for argument's sake, we've had 20 patients die of COVID. And I know from working in the service that the World Health Organization, for the first 2 months of the first general pandemic, you know, where
Uh-huh.
everything kicked off, the World Health Organization was paying my wages, not the NHS. So the World Health Organization is the ones that are dealing with the pandemic, you know. So the way I see it is, if a country turns around to them and says, we've had 8,000 cases today, or we've had 10,000 positive tests, the World Health Organization will give that government X amount of pounds to fight it. It's not going into the places where they say it's going.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, we had rarely PPE, and whatever PPE we did have, it was a case of, you need to use that mask for the whole 12-hour shift.
Yeah. Aye, the
You
same
need to
mask.
bring the same mask for the whole 12-hour shift. You need to use the same aprons for the 12-hour shift.
Uh-huh.
If you can pinch some gloves off the wards at the hospital, do it and shove them in your pocket, which again is not right, because obviously the gloves and everything have been sanitized in the box. They've been sterilized.
Yeah.
So they are sterilized. Once you release a glove to the air, the glove then becomes, you know, unsterilized. So it's
Yeah.
open to the elements. I had COVID. I was tested positive for COVID.
Mhm.
And when I turn around to my bosses at work and says, I've got COVID, you know, I've had the test, it's came back positive, their response was, do you feel ill? I said, I don't feel ill, no. And they says, well, if you haven't got any symptoms, you've had a positive test, fair enough, but you can still go out on the road, can't you? So I was
Jesus.
under
Just,
duress. I was
just
out.
just before we get into that, can I just ask, did you receive any extra training when this came in?
No, no training.
None at all.
No,
Not for
everyone had done
PPE or how to handle
nothing.
patients. No.
No, nothing. It was just a case of, do your day job, do it to the best of your ability, and excuse the French, but if shit hits the fan, you then contact the frontline crews and they will come out and they
Right.
will deal with it.
And because you've been in in a ambulance, well, they do call them ambulances, do they?
Call
In
them
an
ambulances, yeah.
with someone with COVID with less PPE than you should have had, and you've then contracted the virus.
Yeah.
Wow.
But because I couldn't guarantee 100% that it was that patient that I contracted the virus from, there wasn't really much I could do, because work then accused me, even though from the first day that this pandemic happened, I never seen my folks, I never seen friends, I never seen family. The only time I would go out to the shop was to get essentials, and it'd be straight to the shop, straight back, because I could be working 16, 18-hour days, you know, and to me, it was more, you were more worried about your own, you know, mental health, your mental
Mhm.
state, that
It's
you
got
didn't
to add
really.
an extra. It's got to add a lot of extra pressure.
It was massive because obviously you couldn't see loved ones. You couldn't see. A friend of mine who worked for the ambulance service had to pay for a hotel for herself while the pandemic was happening because she didn't
Out of her own pocket.
out of her own pocket. Yeah,
And
she didn't.
if she's been told if she'll ever get that back.
No, because nobody within the trust turned around and told you had to do it. So because they didn't have to do it, she did it on her own back to protect her family and her kids.
Wow.
She then had to pay for a hotel, and obviously hotels are not cheap, and what everyone thinks, ambulance staff, paramedics, doctors, nurses are not on the big books like, some people might think,
Yeah.
it's
That's
I
that's
was
why
almost
that's why I would question where that 10 million that the old Captain Tom raised is going. Are the staff going to see
yeah,
any of that?
the staff never seen anything. The only thing that we did see, which made it really humble and made it worthwhile, was members of the public. Even we wasn't in an emergency ambulance. We were in
Yeah.
the non-emergency. But once you seen ambulance written on that truck, they would be standing outside. They'd be clapping. They'd be cheering at you as you drive through, and that's what made me keep going. It wasn't the case of, the NHS as a whole. It was
Yeah.
the general public and the appreciation.
It
Like
must
we
be
were part.
must be quite a humbling experience to have
Oh,
that,
it
seeing
was.
the pictures and
Yeah,
windows and stuff.
yeah. And on a Thursday when you were driving and you could see them all clapping, like we were parked up. We were standing by waiting for a call, and a member of the public knocked on the side of the ambulance. We opened the door and he was like, "Here's a box of chocolates for you, just to say thank you."
Wow.
Now, we didn't get anything from the trust itself. We didn't
Yeah.
get, like soldiers, they get an extra bit of money for when they're deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever
Mm.
they're deployed. They get an extra bit of money just to say, you're risking your life here.
Yeah.
We'll just give you a bit. I was just shy of minimum wage, and I was dealing with COVID patients,
Yeah.
and
How long were you
I,
in the job?
I was in a year and 2 months,
Okay.
and I'll tell you the reason they got rid of me. Um, Obviously, everyone knows on the channel I suffer with
I remember
mental
you.
health.
I remember you explaining this.
Yeah. Well, because I was working so much and wasn't really eating, I'd get a couple of hours a night. My mental health started to deteriorate.
Yeah.
I got injured after carrying a 45-stone bloke down some stairs with just two of us.
Okay.
So I got injured. I pulled my back. I went off, and then they turned around and said they were dismissing me for illness because I injured my back at work, and they dismissed me for illness. I think it was a case of, I don't know. I think I knew too much that was going on,
Yeah.
and they didn't want me to know anymore because I also have other backgrounds. I volunteer with St John's Ambulance,
Okay.
and from a charity organisation to the worldwide NHS, that sort of organisation. I
Yeah.
had more training on COVID-19 from the charity organisation than I did the National Health Service.
Wow.
Yeah. And, like I say, I'm not here to slag the NHS off. Like I say, I love them. They've done wonders for me in the past. But I'm just trying to show that, you know, don't
It's
listen
real.
to mainstream media, don't listen to the government, because at the end of the day, like it is, it's a strain of the flu,
Mhm.
and that is it. It's a strain of the flu that, you know, is more stronger than the flu. Don't get me wrong. I've been onto wards and I've seen, you know, ICU. I've seen the patients in there.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just mental how you didn't get any training.
Mhm.
Like for my role, we were taking people with cardiac problems. They had kidney failure. You know, they could pretty much. We had end of life jobs. So an end of life job is within 24 hours that patient is unfortunately going to pass away.
Oh fuck.
No, yeah, no, we didn't have any training on anything like that. So I had a colleague that was with me, and due to my charity work, I know, you know, the basic life-saving skills.
Yeah.
Well, we had a patient arrest on the back of the ambulance. Arrest, if you don't know what that is, it's the heart stops
Heart
and
stops.
yeah, and the body is slowly shutting down. Well, because of my charity experience, I was able to kick in and, you know, work that. My
Yeah.
colleague, on the other hand, because he didn't have any training, was like a deer in the headlights. He did
Yeah.
not know what to do.
Fools. Poor man.
And it, you know, they want us to take these patients. They know the risks that is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But obviously, they don't give the training. You know, there's no training. I when I started with the ambulance service, I didn't do any cardiac training, didn't do any CPR training, no basic life-saving skills.
Do you
So
not have to do like defib training and stuff?
we didn't do any defib training.
No defib training at all?
No.
Wow.
In the year and a bit I was at the station I was at, I won't mention the station for obvious
Yeah,
reasons.
that's fine.
But,
That's fine.
the station I was at, we obviously would mix with the people in the station.
Mhm.
So even during COVID, I would have 8, 9 different crew partners. You know, wouldn't be the same crew partner, which we all said would be better, because if me or my colleague goes downhill, you haven't got to self isolate everyone. You've just got to self isolate us two.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that. It was a case of, no, you're going with this person today, you're going with that person tomorrow, you'll go with that person the next day. But then while I was with them, I was training them on basic life saving skills. So I would tell them, you know, your Dr. ABC,
So is
which
this
is
the skills you got from the volunteering job?
from the volunteering job, yeah.
Yeah. And you were
Yeah.
teaching
Right.
actual
And I was
NHS?
teaching that to
Wow.
what I would class us still as frontline ambulance crews, because
Wow.
if you think if you're in distress, you've got something going on, and you see ambulance written on the side of a vehicle, you're gonna automatically run over to that vehicle and go, "Shit's hitting the fan, can you help me?" Which, you know, everyone will. It doesn't matter who you are. If you see, you know, ambulance written on the side of a vehicle,
Mhm.
you're gonna go to that vehicle. Another incident was we come across a road traffic accident, and again, my colleague didn't know the basics, and we didn't even have a first aid kit on the vehicle. You know, it's stupid things like that that, you know, make you think, you know,
There.
it's just madness. Like, they want us to take these people, they want us to want us to, understand this, and they don't.
Yeah. So see, I just want to go back to a question here that I saw earlier on, and what do you think about hospitals turning mental health patients away during COVID?
Absolute. As a mental health patient myself, absolutely disgusting.
Garbage.
Because yeah, in the height of the pandemic, it was all COVID. If you turned up at the hospital with, I don't know, broken arm or something, they'd try and sling it. They wouldn't do X-rays because they needed X-rays for COVID patients. They needed the wards for the COVID patients. We would have patients that would go in for basic routine,
Yeah.
appointments, and they get DNRs. Now, if no one knows what a DNR is, it's a do not attempt to resuscitate.
Yeah. Wow.
So we had a patient, we took her home, and obviously we have to tell the family that there is a DNAR in place.
Mhm.
And the amount of families that turned around to me and went, "What is that? No one spoke to us about it. No one's talked to us about it. You know, what is that?" And then I have to explain to loved ones what that actually means. And the amount of people I've said to that you need to now contact the hospital and get this DNAR
Uh-huh.
out because no one wanted it, no one asked for it.
So
No
it
one,
was just a case of when they were getting their paperwork filled in, the box was just ticked, even though they weren't
yeah,
asked.
yeah. So the doctors would just
Wow.
go. The way I saw it on some of the wards would be the doctor would think, how long has he got left? If he's got less than 6 months, a DNAR was in place, and we would go to care homes where patients would go in front line, and then we would take them back to the care home. And again, the amount of people from care homes that we then go to the staff, go, "Here's the DNAR," and they'd look at us going, "They didn't have that when they left, so why have they got it now?" And it seemed to me like they didn't want to resuscitate anyone during the pandemic. They didn't want to because, again, they can turn around and go, "They died of COVID, so
Fucking
they'll
hell.
get extra money," you know.
Wow. I was hearing that there was people dying in car accidents that were getting marked down as COVID as well.
Yeah, yeah. You could get hit by a bus during the height of the pandemic, and they'd probably put it down as COVID.
Wow.
So
It's
everything,
unbelievable what they've gotten away with, isn't it?
yeah,
Some of it's
everything,
understandable though.
yeah, everything was literally COVID, 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 COVID.
Wow. So what was the I don't mean to like open a wound for you, but
Mm.
what was the worst thing you'd seen since this COVID started? In
During
a
COVID,
hospital or in an ambulance?
the worst thing I've seen, there wasn't a patient as such, but we were taking a patient home,
Mm-hmm.
and she must have not been no older than 3, 4, and she was coughing up her guts. She was gasping for air to the point that I got the oxygen out of our vehicle because we was in a HD vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I got the oxygen and put her on the oxygen. And I said to her parents, I said, "You need to get this child to hospital."
Wow.
And they were like, "We're not taking her. We're not
Just
taking
3
her into hospital."
people got COVID?
Just because, yeah,
No way.
yeah. But the worst thing I've had to deal with would be cardiac arrest.
Yeah. That's got to
Um,
be really difficult to
it
deal with.
it was horrible. I've had to do. I'm quite young, so in my life at the minute, I've had to deal with 4 cardiac arrests.
4.
4, Yeah.
people never see one. So well done you. Did it all
Yeah,
turn
and
out?
I remember all of them. You know, one was on the job, and 3 was out of the job.
Okay.
One of the ladies, unfortunately, I've only lost 1 out of all 4, and
Okay.
that was my first one.
Wow.
A lady went down in a shopping centre. Started doing CPR, asked for the defib, shocked her, done all that. But then after that, because obviously the paramedics then came, I was still doing CPR while they were doing their life saving with their drugs and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that sort of stuff. But the worst part about that was the police, because it was classed as a sudden death. I then got questioned by 2 police officers
Yeah.
asking me, you know, what I did, how I did it. Even the officer that an officer has to go to, or out of hospital cardiac arrests, that's in the ambulance service, the officer, and he even turned around and said,
Is that not just to rule out all possibilities of foul play, or
yeah.
it must have
But the
it must,
police then,
must have thought at one point that, are they trying to accuse me, or
yeah, and that's how it felt. It felt like, because I then was, after the paramedics had said, no, there's nothing else we can do,
yeah.
the 2 police officers then took me away into a little room at the back of the shopping centre.
Uh-huh.
So everyone who had just watched me do what I did, and then I'm taken away by 2 police officers, it made
Wow.
me feel like, you know, why did I do it? If that
Yeah.
makes sense, in a way, because now I've looked like I'm guilty of something, because the police have just dragged me away into a side room.
Wow.
It
Did the
didn't
same
stop me
happen? Did the
because
same happen on the other ones that survived, or was that just end of as soon as they got into the ambulance, or?
no, the other 2 survived, and the one on the ambo, he survived as well.
Okay. Good.
You know, and like I say, if I didn't have that training from my charity work, though, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do that. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to jump in at that moment in time. And this is why, you know, I feel that, one, everyone should know basic first aid. You know, your basic life-saving skills will save a loved one, and it is guaranteed, because 2 in 5 of us will have a cardiac arrest at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you know that basic skills, while you're on the phone to the ambulance service, yes, they do talk you through it, but if you can find a way of learning, you know, there's loads of videos on YouTube from St John's Ambulance. There's loads of videos, so
Yeah.
you can see how to
But
deal with.
would you still recommend videos, or would you recommend hands-on experience, like a training course?
It depends, because some people, like myself, I learn better hands-on. You know, I have to be doing it, and you know, I'll have a video on still, and I'll still be practicing
Yeah.
CPR, even though I'm not active on the front line at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
I still practice it, just in case, because you never know. You could be out shopping, you could be in the pub, you know, and you're not going to be that deer in the headlights. And
Yeah.
when you do get someone back, you know, I can't explain the feeling that goes through your body, but it's just, you
Well,
just feel.
Jerry the Helmet's just said, I seen, well, I'll put it up before, but he said, I seen one of you guys save a man's life in Asda. Glad yous were there. And then he goes on to say, Where is it? As soon as he saw it, he got trained up.
So honestly, you know, it'll once I get a bit more confident, if you want me to, I can put a
No,
few videos on to
I want
show.
I want your confidence to flourish. I want you to be the man you want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of the
'Cause-
family.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. But it, like I say, like some of the guys I work with, they're still doing 16, 17-hour days.
Yeah. Would you say now that we've got the proper PPE and the proper know how to do the job now with COVID?
Well,
Still
they've
good at
got
any-
the PPE, they've got the masks, they've got the aprons, they've got the gloves on every vehicle,
Do you think they have
but
enough?
they haven't been shown still how to. It sounds stupid to the average person, but how to apply the
Mhm.
masks, how to take the masks off, how
Yeah.
to take your gloves off, because 9 times out of 10, a person would just grab the glove and pull it off.
Mhm.
But within the medical area,
You've
there
got
is a
to fold
certain way to take.
it, haven't you?
That's it. Yeah, you fold it all up, fold your
Right.
apron up into your gloves, so it's all contained. Where a normal person would just rip the apron off, you're then spreading the virus anyway. You're spreading any kind of diseases that that patients do have. Because I've had to deal with patients with Hep B, Hep C, HIV. And again, I've had no training to understand, that kind of illness and what I've got to do to protect myself from it, and
Yeah.
what I've got to do to protect me from the patient. Because, like with the dialysis patients, their kidneys are failing. Some had one kidney,
Uh-huh.
but from the training I had from the trust, I didn't know anything about that. It was all from my voluntary role.
Okay.
All the training.
So basically, for anyone that's just tuned in, Brummie got better training from a charity organisation than he did from the NHS. Not to speak bad on the NHS, but that's something I think's got to change.
Just to add an insight to people, because there's also people that are now going to 999 calls, which are called the COVID responders. That's what they've called it during the COVID pandemic. And
So is that specific teams just to go to COVID cases?
well, they're not going to COVID cases. They're going to your minor 999 calls.
Okay.
So, for argument's sake, old Doris that has fallen on the floor. So Doris would be 92 years old. She's fell in the bathroom. Then these crews would go to Doris,
Uh-huh.
but these crews haven't had any training to check for spinal injuries. They haven't had any training to check, why Doris fell on the floor. They wouldn't know that. They'd just go in, look at Doris, and try and drag Doris up. So they've not had the right training. They've not had the necessary training that I would say. For me, for myself, if one of them turned up and I dialed 999, I'd be straight back on the phone dialing 999 and asking for a frontline ambulance.
This is
It's just
eye-opening.
And this is the problem, because we are when you sign up to the trust, you do tend to have a silent thing. You're not allowed to really talk about this.
So it's like it's
you're
almost
not allowed.
a disclosure agreement. It's like a silent non-disclosure agreement almost.
Yeah. What happens in the vehicle or with a patient stays with a patient. It stays in that vehicle. You're not allowed to let it go out.
Uh-huh.
You're not allowed to.
That's what I was thinking before, Ken. If you're going to talk about cases like that, just refer to them as with a different name and like a different description, but you know, like what they're talking about. You know, just so
Yeah,
nobody
yeah,
comes back and says,
yeah.
"Oh, it was."
That's it. That's why I've not really said names. I've just said like shopping centre, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But when I was on the job as well, we were driving past a train station, and I don't know what it was, but something told me something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled over, and I went down the stairs, and there was a young girl by the tracks. Now, obviously, I got my colleague straight on the radio to get front line and get police just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there with her for 45 minutes to talk to her, trying to,
Wow.
trying to sort of talk her down. And then once we had finished, I went back to control and said, "Right, we're clear for a job now. You can assign us a job." And
Right.
I got off control.
You spent 45 minutes talking a suicidal woman down, and then you just
Yeah,
got straight back to work as soon as it was over.
went straight back to work. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, no,
all respect to
yeah,
you. Wow, some
no respite, no. But our
we
control then had a go at me because I shouldn't have been there because I'm not trained to deal with mental health patients.
talking. Did you get
But
any not training, but any thanks or anything
no,
after that? Nothing at
no,
all.
nothing. No. The only person that thanked me was because I wanted to make sure that this girl got the help she needed. So I gave her my mobile number,
Yeah.
and her mum rang me a couple of weeks after and just says, she's getting the help, and for you, I just want to say thank you.
Wow.
But when I had the uniform on, you have to be like a robot. You can't be yourself. That's why when I had to take the uniform off when I got, sacked, that's where everything then starts coming back. What you've seen, what
Yeah.
and it was crazy because you have to be a robot, and if anything, that's what you're trained to do. You're trained to be a robot. If you go to somebody, they're not a human, they're a patient. And while they're in your care, you can't have any emotions. You can't,
Wow.
like, the amount of dementia patients I would have to take to care homes. And dementia patients get scared quite easy.
How do you learn to
So,
switch off?
I'm not going to sound big-headed, but I think it takes a certain kind of person to be able to, differentiate between work
Yeah.
and real life, you know. Um, but the
But
amount of
to
dementia patients,
the mental health problems that you've had at home.
yeah, and I told the ambulance service when I started working for them that I suffer with mental health, suffer with depression, split
Yeah.
personality,
Is
you
there
know.
any medical before you go in, or is it just straight in training and then go?
It's just straight in training.
No
There's
medical
no
checks.
medical training. No.
Wow.
My training was a week, and then I was in an ambulance in the full ambulance gear. So full, we wasn't in a different uniform, so members of the public.
8 hours a day for a week, or was this just?
It depended on the trainer. Some days we could be finished by 2 o'clock. Some days we could be finished by 4. It depended on The person that was training you. So you do from 8 till 2.
So have you got to do a required amount of hours, or is it just whenever they say you're ready, you're ready?
It's just as long as you tick boxes and say, you know, you've got it, you've understood what your job role is, then you're happy to go out. Like with
Wow.
me, because of my previous training, I was sort of trying to ask them what you would do in this situation, what you would do in that, and it was like it felt like in the training sessions, I was being the class clown where I wasn't. I was trying to work out where we can go and what we can do.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like that. It would seem like, you know, I was the troublemaker. I was causing problems, you know, for the trainer, because the only training we did have was it was called like something training. So it was so you could defend off an attacker, you could deal with an angry person, you could deal with a drunk person.
Yep.
But I then did what I've experienced in the past while I've been in the ambulances with the charity service, where you get people swearing at you because you're trying to get down a road and their car's blocking the way. You've got your blue lights going and you're trying to get to wherever you're going. You know, so I was that kind of person that would say, no, I ain't moving because I'm unloading the car. You'd have to go all the way around.
Okay.
And again, the trainer felt like I was trying to belittle the trainer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You know, so like the training is not worth the paper it's written on. You know, you don't get the training that I feel you need in that job.
So your first day on that job must have been the most nerve-wracking day of your fucking life.
It was
How long
horrible.
How long did it take you to get used to that, or did you get used to that?
If I'll be brutally honest, I don't think I ever. I think it's that case of the robot again. You're just in work mode. You just, you know, some of the drivers have been doing the job so long. You know, I'm not saying they have done this or they would do this, but they could close their eyes and get to the patient's house, because we had regular patients. So they could go from the station to that person's house with their eyes closed. It's autopilot.
Wow.
Yes, but you know, it's one of them. Like I'd loved the NHS. Don't get me wrong. I loved the job. I'd loved the people, but the trust as a whole, no. Because when
It sounds, by the way you're talking, there's a lot of failings there that need addressed, and it doesn't.
there's a lot.
To be honest, like
There's a lot, but I've tried to ring head office, and all I get now is, you no longer work for us. We don't care. So that's the response I've had. And I was, like I say, I was truthful to them from day one with my mental health. And two of my managers saw me in A&E when I'm not ashamed to say I took an overdose, and, you know, I was found by a member of the public and they got me to the hospital.
okay.
But two of my managers saw me in A&E. And do you think since they saw me in A&E to today, they have contacted to make sure I'm okay? Have they? You know, I won't swear because obviously it's but they haven't done anything, and it feels like once you leave the trust, that's it. You've left it. It's not the Green family that you see on the telly. You know, it's not the big brother and sisters. You know, it's not the we look after each other. It's a dog eat dog world, and it's every man for themselves. You know, Channel 4 did the COVID paramedics, and they interviewed me, but because I told them what was going on and what was happening, the
Yeah.
trust got solicitors involved to stop it being aired.
Wow.
And you know, at the end of the day, yes, there's problems in every company. There's problems
Yeah.
in every business. But when you've got people's lives in your hands, you can't, you can't go, oh, it's all right. It's been a bad day.
Uh-huh.
You can't. It's someone's life at the end of the day. It's a family's loved one. It's a brother. It's a sister. It's an auntie. It's because it's someone's loved one.
It sounds like you're just thrown into the deep end, basically.
Yeah, you literally.
Is that the same for technicians and paramedics? Like, or the mobility ambulance, like you're saying you were working in and emergency ambulance?
The emergency ambulances, you get more training. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You get a whole lot more training. The training course is a lot longer. It's more in depth.
Yeah.
But
so use a lot of the IVs and lines and
yeah, that's the paramedic training. We wouldn't do any of that, but we would be transporting patients with
you do
cannulas in,
manual
drips in.
handling and
Yeah,
drip management and stuff like
that's
that.
it. But
Yeah.
we didn't have any training for drip management. But we were told we had to transport a patient with a drip in, and
With no training on how to
no training on how to deal with it. Not
the essential equipment.
no,
Wow.
no. The only thing we had on our vehicle was a stretcher and 2 chairs. That's it. There wasn't hardly any equipment apart from the HD crews where we had the oxygen and we have defibs and that sort of stuff. But on your normal, the normal ambulance, the PTS ambulance, you wouldn't have the life-saving equipment, which I think every ambulance would. Because me in my uniform, you wouldn't know that I wasn't a paramedic. I wasn't a technician.
Yeah. They're the same colour, are they?
They were the same colour. They had ambulance written on the back. There was no different. We even had the radio that the paramedics carry. So a member of the public wouldn't know. A member of the public would see me and they'd go, he's a paramedic.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I had to turn around and go, well, I'm not a paramedic.
If you don't mind revealing, what was your actual job title?
It was patient transport service.
Patient transport service. And
Yeah.
I did they clash as a paramedic or did they just clash it as a patient transport operative or whatever?
It was a glorified ring and ride. That's what it is. It's but it is in a sense, but it's not because we were still transporting the COVID patients. We were still transporting the end of life patients. So it was a sort of ring and ride, but at times it could be this patient is going home to die. So we would have to take that patient home, get them comfortable in bed, and then obviously leave them. But
that's got to be one of the hardest things in that job. You're walking out of that house and that person has got to cease to exist in a matter of hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you then go in.
Disconnect from that when you walk out the door, because how long does it take you to disconnect for that person when you walk out that door?
With me, because I'm quite a sensitive soul anyway, it took me a while. Yeah. I'd be doing the job a week later and still think of that patient we dropped off, last week, and thinking, have they passed away or are they still you know, it was still, and that's what a lot of my recent mental health was, because you don't know. It's
Yeah.
the unknown. It's the not knowing.
So it was
that,
more compassionate field your mental health then, like
Yeah.
wondering how other people are getting on, and not
Yeah.
knowing if somebody survived or not, someone just spurred your mental health to get worse and worse.
That's it. Yeah, and you don't get any support.
I take it was depression.
Yeah, it was depression. Yeah,
Okay, and you not got no
I'm
support from the
diagnosed.
NHS.
Yeah, I'm diagnosed with depression and split personality disorder.
Okay.
So, you know,
Wow.
but it, like, family called me a hero. I wasn't a hero. I just did a job that I loved. You know, I did a job that, you know, you can't explain it until you've actually, you know, you've tried it and you've done it, where you get that happiness from the patient, even though
Yeah.
you've took them home to die. That patient most of the time will say thank you, and you think, you know, what can I say back to that when they're saying thank you because I've brought them home to pass, you know. And all through the trust, you'll get speak up about mental health, you know,
Mhm.
look after your mental health. And the second you speak about your mental health is the second you're out the door.
Yeah.
Because I've known 3 people that have been sacked from the ambulance service because of mental health, because
Wow.
they weren't sure when they were going to come back, if they were going to come back. So the easiest option is take them off the books. They're not our problem anymore. You know, that's it. You know, once you leave, you hand your uniform back. You're again a member of the public again. You're not part of the Green family.
Wow. So did you have to go and source your own help for your mental health?
I had to deal with, recently I got admitted into hospital, into a mental health hospital, and you know, I've had to go, you know what, fuck you. At the end of the day, I've got to now concentrate on me. I've got to try and forget about the patients. Like, I still to this day message old colleagues and ask how XYZ patient is doing, you know, because I cared. And, you know, I cared that much that one thing you don't do is bring work home. But I did. I brought work home, and that's why I got into the state I did, because I was always thinking about, you know, XYZ, or I was always thinking about how I could improve. But every time I went to management and said, can we do this today, or can I bring one of my books in to give a brief description? No, you're not allowed. No,
Wow.
no. And, you know, it's just, like I say, I'm not slagging the NHS
Yeah.
off.
Giving an
I'm
insight.
just telling you about my insight into the NHS, into the ambulance service as a whole. You know,
So with the how long ago did you come out of the ambulance service?
I come out the ambulance service. It be a month now, I think.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then
it'd be a month.
how long after that have you been seeing doctors all the way through?
I've been seeing my GP because obviously she's dealt with me since I was 7 or 8 for my mental health.
Okay.
She's been seeing me since then. And I just went to her. I broke down, and she turned around and says, "Need to get you help. You know, you need help." And then I came back home, and then was like, "No one cares. You know, no one's bothered. No one's listened." So I took a load of pills, and because I knew what pills I could take and what I couldn't take, where they
Uh-huh.
will counteract each other. You know, I did a cocktail of drugs where that was it. That was, and you know, it's one of them that I'm not ashamed of my mental health. You know,
Yeah.
I'm quite open to talk about it. Um, but I felt ashamed within the ambulance service. I felt ashamed because, like I said, the second you mention mental health, even as medical professionals themselves, everyone ran for the hills.
Yeah.
Everyone ran. You know, there was a couple of people that worked there, didn't know I had mental health, and we started talking. We had a mental health patient, and they says, "Fucking hell, you are brilliant with the crazy patients," and that's the words they said.
Fuck's
The
sake.
crazy patient, and I went, you know what? I'm one of them crazy patients.
Mhm.
You know, I'm one of them crazy. And they looked at you then like you had an illness, like you had a disease that they could catch.
Yeah.
And you know, they say on the TVs, and you know, that 1 in 4 of us will suffer from mental health at some point in our life. It's not. It's 4 in 4 of us will either suffer with it or be affected by it.
Could buy it. Yeah.
And you know, and you know, from a few 10, 15 years back, you know, it's not so much the elephant in the room as much as it was. You know, it's slowly coming to conversation. It's slowly, you know, being spoke about a bit more. But within the trust, you can't speak about it. You can't.
Jesus. So, would there be any repercussions for you if the NHS found out that you blew the whistle, or that you had revealed something that you shouldn't have, which you haven't tonight?
Um, there
What could
might be.
the repercussions be?
There might be, but at the end of the day, I've not said anything that's
Yeah, that's what
in.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing you've said tonight that can come to
No,
any harm. But if you did do that, what could the NHS literally do? Is
they
it
could say,
on your contract saying that you cannot reveal anything that you see on the job?
yeah, they can sue you because it's what's it called in public office. So if I
Patient
was to turn around
confidentiality or something?
patient confidentiality, and it's a misuse of public office. So if I
Mm.
turn around to you and told you, you know, all the patients' names I've ever dealt with,
Yeah.
then the NHS can sue us, the trust can sue us, and the patients themselves can sue us.
So are the NHS and the ambulance service a different entity? Like a
The
thing?
NHS and the ambulance, they all work under the NHS.
Right. Okay.
And then you have your different trusts
Okay.
within different boroughs, different, you know,
Hmm.
countries. Like I can't say what the other trusts are like. I can't say, you know, I can only say I'm from Brum, so
Yeah.
everyone's going to know which ambulance service it
That's all you
is.
need to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
so
you,
everyone knows.
you haven't revealed too much. You've not said any names. So
No,
can I just
it,
interrupt for the first time tonight? Give my mate CJ, my boy CJ, a thumbs up. Good
of
to
course,
see you.
can, yeah.
Right. Right. There was a couple of questions I wanted to ask that were up in the comments. So
Yeah.
one of them was somebody asking for GMC credentials, but I don't think that's necessary just now. Right. I can't actually find it. So, oh, here we go. What qualifications did you get, or have you got?
I've within the trust again, not really any qualifications.
Okay.
Within my charity work, I've got life saving, I've got children, I've got baby, I can use a scoop stretcher, I can use a boat stretcher, I can use the ambulance so I can drive on blue lights. I can drive on blue lights, I can give oxygen, I can give Ventinox, I can give very
Can you,
mild pain relief, so
I was
pain
about to say, can you administer morphine and
paracetamol.
stuff?
Eh?
Can you administer morphine and stuff?
No, I can't. No,
Okay. So it's just
I'm doing my training with my charity to become an emergency
medic.
responder, and then I will be able to give the morphine, all them kinds of drugs.
Yeah.
But at the minute, I can give Ventinox, oxygen, paracetamol, ibuprofen, and I can give, medical advice. I can deal with someone with a broken arm, broken legs, that sort of stuff. And I absolutely love my charity work because I'm not being paid for it. I don't get paid, but the relief of the patient that you go to, that's enough for me. I don't need money. Money's just paper with colour on it. There's no better feeling to go into someone's house at a moment in crisis and be able to understand what is going on and how I can make that better for them.
Yeah.
That is, that is the biggest pay pack for me.
So if you wanted to, could you go back and work for the NHS?
I could, yes, but with my experiences within it, I don't think I want to. I think I'm just going to keep with my charity work. I'm going to do that and look at another profession. I'm thinking of going into working with children with disabilities,
Oh, okay.
children with mental health issues. That sort of role. So like a
Good on you.
social worker as such, but
Good on you. Well, if there's any social workers out there that have got any advice for Brummie, just chuck it in the comments.
Yeah, definitely. But like I say, I just wanted to come on and give people an insight. Like I said, it's from the start.
Perfect.
I'm not.
That's for just flying for the seat of our arses. That's a good interview. That.
Yeah, I'm not slagging the NHS off. I'm not.
Just
I'm
an
just
opinion and an
saying,
insight into it,
yeah,
is it? Exactly.
because everyone thinks they see an ambulance, and even down to the staff, even down to the crews, some of them, one don't want to be there for the reasons I've said, because there's hardly any training, there's hardly any back support. So if you do go to a shite job, you've just got to deal with that. You've just got to be man enough to get on with that and move on.
Yeah.
Where within the charity role, I dealt with a patient that had been stabbed, and it wasn't a major stab, but it was a stabbing, and after that, I had 3 sessions of counselling just to make sure, you know, I was okay with that. I wasn't affected by it, you know, and it's a massive difference between the two organisations. You know, it's a charity organisation, no one gets paid, but they give a lot more training. You know, we had to do online COVID training. We had to do, we had to go to a local base that the charity hold, and we had to show them that we could take the masks off correctly, we could take the gloves off correctly, we could take the aprons off correctly. And if you couldn't, you weren't allowed to go out to do an event. You weren't allowed to go out and do the frontline work, and you know. But within the ambulance service, it was a case of, here you go, here's your truck, here's your radio. We'll call you when you got a job. Off you pop. And you know, there wasn't any training. There wasn't no PPE, and I got the virus, and you know, thank God I was strong enough to fight the virus off. I wasn't one of the ones that unfortunately did apparently pass from the virus. But if you look at, you know, I'd say 90% of the people that have apparently died from COVID-19, 90% of them would probably have underlying medical conditions. They'd all either have asthma, they'd either have, you know, lung failure or lung cancer, lungs, you know, lung kind of diseases.
Yeah.
And you know, their life expense was shorter anyway than your average person. You know, their life expense was short. So, you know, someone who's 20 would probably live for another 60 years. But if they've got underlying medical conditions, they could live till they're 30, 40, you know. So it's that sort of group that needs to take extra care, you know, needs to take extra vigilance, you know. It's not your average person that is what you would call fit and healthy, so they haven't got any, you know, underlying medical condition, and you know, you'll be fine with it.
Shit. Well, I've just got to say, well, actually, I've got one more question. What's your plans for the future? What's the next step you're going to take in your life to become a social worker? Or
well, I've got my CPN now, which is my mental health nurse that is dealing with me.
Yeah.
She's gonna put me forward for an open university course that I can do online at home, and then take it from there. So if I can do that, I can get that qualification, then I can look at going into that social worker, and you know, try and make a difference, because that's all I wanted to do. You know, in all my job roles, all I wanted to do was make a difference. You know, make that experience with that one person the best. You know,
Yeah.
and that is, I think that's all everyone wants to do. You know, you don't go into something, you know, half, what I call the glass half empty. It's always got to be full. The glass has always got to be full. I've got to give it 110%. If it's not 110%, it's not worth doing. You know.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh man, but no, it's been a good conversation. I think we'll start another one after this, but I think that's good for that one just now, Brummie.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
I'm sure there'll be more. We can get you back on in the future.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
Callum says if you network with the right people, you'll get there faster.
Yeah.
So
I've just,
Jerry Helmet
I've just
says
got
we can help him out. If I can help him out, drop me his number and I'll get my mate to call him. Jerry says he's got a mate in that field that can help you out, maybe point you in the right direction.
Okay, yeah.
So if you give it anything less than 100%, you're losing.
Yeah.
And we've got that's about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Try to please get called in first to make it safe. You have to seek yourself out, Nikki's saying. You have to sort yourself out.
Oh, 100%, Nicky. I'm better than I was. I'm in a better place than I was. You know, being with family over the last couple of days has really boosted me. You know, it's
good.
Still,
Always
you
good to
know,
see people getting a boost.
yeah, it's still good and bad days, but I'm having more good days than the bad ones. So
Good. That's what we like. That's what we like.
that's the main thing, isn't it?
That is what we like. But no, thanks for that, Brummie. Thanks for coming on and telling your story. And fucking, I think we're going to start another one after this and just have a general shit talk with
General shit. Don't blame you.
general shit, just to lighten the
Yeah.
mood a bit. Not saying that was
Before
boring.
the day, what you up for New Year, Chimpy? Or
Absolutely fuck all by the looks of things. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens.
what tier are you in?
4.
Are you in tier 4?
Mm-hmm.
How? I think it won't be long until we're in tier 4, so we'll just have to wait and see.
But anyway, thanks for coming on, Brummie, and we'll speak to you again soon.
No worries, Jim. And like I said in the message, mate, if you want me to try and get actual frontline para that might come on,
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I can try and drop some messages to her and see if she'll come on and speak.
Spot on. That would be absolutely perfect. Doesn't need to show her face. Remember her name. We can even do it pre-recorded if you wanted.
Yeah, because I know she's a bit like me. She wants to make change, but
perfect.
They haven't really clocked into her. All right, and Chimpy, you look after yourself, mate.
Perfect. Cheers, Brummie, and you.
No worries. Good night, all.
Go on. Cheers, man. Oh man, that was good. I enjoyed that. Right, I'll start another one. So that'll be its own episode. So I'll see you in a few minutes.